Good morning, my friend. Drop me a note in the comments. Let me know you are here. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and I will be right with you. And we will be chatting over at mikecameron.ca/live as well. Yes, Anne, I believe we are up live there now. How the heck are you? Let me turn this down. Drop me a note in the comments. Let me know you are here. Good morning, bro. Good morning, sis. Is that what I call you? I don't know, Ann. What do I call you? Bro, sis? What? All right. I am going to get a little bit organized here and make sure I can follow along everywhere you guys are talking to me, because as you guys know by now, I kind of broadcast all over the place. And so trying to keep track of the comments. Hey, Neil, good morning, my friend. Good to see you. Okay. I think I got everything up everywhere and we are good to go. Good morning, Jared. You missed us yesterday. I see you dropped a comment at the end of the broadcast. Garth, how are you, my friend? Man, we got everybody here today. I love it. Love it. Love it. Welcome to Men Up with Mike. This is the show where we talk all things leadership, personal development, and really just becoming that best version of yourself. And we do it all through the lens of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a dude. Oh, let me turn my phone off. And there we go. Now you have my full and undivided attention. Yeah, these live things are kind of fun, aren't they? Kind of fun. Some days I'm very prepared. Some days I kind of wing it. So today, I'm going to be honest, it's a little bit of a winging it day, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how to support someone who is struggling. And it's on there, Anne. I can see it. But that's fine. You're here. You're now. That is great. We can have a conversation right here. And I am A-okay with that. Hey, Bill, how are you, my friend? Bill on LinkedIn, it is good to see you. Glad to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit about how to support someone who is struggling, whether you want to call that mental health or just struggling, because there's a lot of us that are fucking struggling hard right now. And it's not easy to know what to do, how to support those that we love that are having a tough time. And it can be a real challenge. So this is not going to be an exhaustive, comprehensive list of what you can do, but I just thought I get enough questions around this. You know, I did a presentation for a large construction company yesterday, and that was far and away the number one question that we had in the Q&A section afterwards was, how do you support somebody that is struggling with their mental health? And again, in particular, men, I think I get a lot of this question from women. That, you know what, maybe that's not a great characterization, but I do get this question a lot from women whose partners are struggling. And I think the reason for that is because men are less likely to reach out for help, less likely to admit that we need help. Again, we're strong, we're tough. We don't need any fucking help, do we? Right? That's the stigma. That's the stereotype. That's the armor that we wear. You know, I talk about that armor that we put on that is so heavy that we tend to not actually reach out and be open to the fact that, you know what, maybe we actually do need some assistance. Maybe we actually do need some help. And frankly, maybe that's okay. So that's a large part of why I do these broadcasts, why I have these conversations, is to let you know that it's okay to reach out for help, regardless of how strong you are, regardless of how tough you are, regardless of how well you think you're doing overall, generally speaking. If you're having a moment, If you're having a day, if you're having a week, if you're having a month that's out of character, reach out, ask for support. So there's the first thing that you can do. Vulnerability is key, says Neil. Absolutely. Vulnerability is absolutely the key. Having the courage to do that. So again, now we're talking about how to take care of yourself. So allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but that's a good starting point when we're talking about how do we support somebody else. And it starts by modeling the way. You know, I'm a big fan of Kouzes and Posner's, the 5 exemplary practices of leadership, and model the way is one of those. Inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, encourage the heart, enable others to act. So these are, you know, again, that model the way becomes critical. You can't expect a loved one to feel comfortable reaching out for help if you don't demonstrate that when you need help. And maybe that's a good way to start that conversation. You know, if it's a partner, an intimate partner, if it's a family member, a loved one, maybe take note of a time when you're struggling and reach out to them and ask for their help. Goodness knows we all need help at some point in our lives, but modeling the way is an incredibly powerful way to do that. So let's back up again. I told you I hadn't really structured this conversation. I just wanted to have this talk. What I am going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to structure all of this information. I'm going to put it in a much more succinct video, not just me rambling live, but I'm actually going to have a produced video on this that I will put up on mikecameron.ca. Neil, if you're not a member over there, which I don't think you are yet, mikecameron.ca, please, please, please join the community. I would love for you to share your story over there as well. Neil and I met virtually yesterday. Neil has an incredible story as well. So let's talk a little bit about, first off, how do you identify when somebody's struggling? You know, for me, in the sort of my lived experience that I share from, I'm cautious because I want to be respectful of confidentiality. But in my case, Anne says, I used to pause a lot more when I was just starting out. I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Identifying when somebody needs help. In my case, it was obvious because they literally wouldn't get out of bed in the day. And it was that bad. It was that challenging. And I know for me, I just, at that time, I had no idea what to do. And it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. You know, I'd pick up the phone, I'd call HealthLink, our provincial sort of health hotline. And the answer I always got was the same: get them to the doctor. It's like, yeah, fuck. Easier said than done. That's your answer. Get them to the doctor. And that was so frustrating for me, because if you've ever tried to support somebody that's really struggling, like in a bad way, you know, at least for me, going to the doctor wasn't an option. They weren't willing to take any steps to address the problem. So first off, to backtrack a little bit, how do I know when there's an opportunity to help? How do I know when somebody is struggling? So let's talk a little bit about the signs. I'm pulling these off of the Here to Help BC website, just because I thought this was a decent list. And like I said, I have not gone through and built a comprehensive list. And if any of you listening have thoughts and ideas, please drop them in the comments. This is a collaborative effort. How do we share? How do we get to a point? Hey, Shane, you're on the wrong site, but that's okay. How do we know when to help? They suddenly no longer have interest in hobbies and other interests they used to love. They seem to feel angry or sad for little or no reason. They don't seem to enjoy anything anymore. They've told you about or seem to be hearing strange voices or have unsettling thoughts. They seem emotionally numb, like they don't feel anything anymore. They used to be healthy, but now they're always saying they feel a bit sick. They eat a lot more. Hey, good morning, Michelle. Uh, they eat a lot more or less than they used to. Their sleep patterns have changed. They seem to be anxious or terrified about situations or objects in life that seem normal to you and others. They've been missing more and more time from work or school. They've been drinking heavily and or using drugs to cope. They're talking about taking their life or feeling hopeless. They're avoiding their close friends or family members. So there are a few of the items, the things that we can watch for when we're looking to support. Neil says, part of the community, let's make beautiful shit happen. Yes, absolutely. Let's make beautiful shit happen, my friend. We are absolutely going to make beautiful shit happen. So again, if you feel like someone is struggling, somebody that you know, maybe a loved one, maybe your partner, how do you support them? Again, it's so challenging to do. But like I said, for me, I think the first and most important thing is model the way. When you need help, ask for it. And maybe you ask for it directly from them. I know for many, when they're struggling, helping somebody else is a path out. It's a way out of that struggle. And I know so many, myself included, Neil the same, when we get to share our story, when we can help others with our experience, it is so cathartic. It is so healing. So maybe there's an opportunity for you to allow that loved one who's struggling to actually help you with their experience. When we're talking about mental health and struggling, there are some lifestyle things that we can do to support a better mental health. Again, not be all and end all, and I'm not suggesting that exercise cures everything, but it certainly needs to be a part of the process. So there are things that you can do, again, depending on how close you are, to encourage that healthy lifestyle. And again, my experience, my suggestion would be you don't prescribe that as a thing they should do to make them feel better. Because again, in my experience, that's going to be met with a lot of resistance. But that doesn't mean that you can't just show up and say, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's go for a run together if you're a runner. Let's go to the gym. Let's go do something healthy. If it's your partner and you cohabitate, making sure that mealtime is at proper times, proper intervals, that you get the proper nutrition that you need. That's a big part of it for many of the individuals I work with. They tell me that is an absolute trigger for them when they stop eating well. That can often send them into a tailspin, into a nosedive. So making sure that your loved one is eating well, eating regularly, keeping that blood sugar level at appropriate levels. Those are some of the things that you can do to support. Finding ways without being prescriptive to guide them on that path, to guide them on the path of some of the things that they can do. To provide emotional support for them. Be an ear. Just listen sometimes is huge. And then, back it up. Maybe the next question, once you've identified if somebody is struggling, is how do you address that? How do you bring that up? How do you actually have that conversation? And again, this is a skill. It takes practice, and it may be some trial and error to find what works for the person in your life. Spend some time trying some things, some ways to support with compassion, to have that conversation with compassion. Hey, you seem a little bit off. What's going on? Again, depending on the relationship, I always try and avoid the what's wrong, because then you're presupposing something's wrong, and that can potentially have people put that armor back up. Nothing's wrong. I'm good. Whereas if you ask, what's going on? It opens the space for them to dump a little bit. And then just listen, don't fix. I talk about that often too. Just listen. Create that space for them to open up. Back to that SOAR framework. Slow down. Open up. Accept what's there and help them reconnect with that emotional part of themselves. Reconnect with who they are. Michelle says you can lay out a towel and fresh, comfy clothes and get them to bathe. Sometimes just getting them clean perks them up enough for the next step. Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us know that feeling once we've hopped out of the bath, once we've hopped out of the shower and we're all clean and scrubbed and we've got fresh clothes and a fresh towel and maybe a robe. I've got a favorite white robe that I picked up from the Ritz down in, I think it was Grand Cayman. It was on a reward trip. One of our lender partners had given us. So I have this big plush comfy robe, and there's just nothing like that feeling of getting out of the bath or shower and then putting that robe on. So, again, setting your partner up for those kinds of things. It's it's huge. And again, it doesn't have to be big, massive things. And I understand it can be hard to know what to do. Again, I remember sitting in front of my office in my car, bawling my eyes out on the line with HealthLink. And again, the answer I kept getting was get them to the doctor. And it was just like, that ain't going to happen. For me, I was fortunate. Ultimately, there were a number of different reasons that we were able to get in front of some different healthcare workers. And eventually they found a healthcare worker that they clicked with, that they trusted, got some help. And in that case, ultimately ended up getting on some medication, which helped level things out. But, again, medication is just one piece of or potential piece of the puzzle. We still need to do all the other things. We need to do that healthy lifestyle stuff. We need to do all the other things. I'm just going to take a second and go through the comments. Helping is healing. Healing is helping. Yes, absolutely, Neil. Just being there for the person can be a real strong way to support. If you care about someone, you'll find a way to open the door. Yes. Yes. And yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Open the door. I like that a lot, Anne. You don't have to drag them in. All you have to do sometimes is just open the door. And that's all we can do as supporters. The other thing that's important to remember as a support is you need to take care of yourself as well. You really need to take care of yourself. Providing emotional support for somebody else can be draining. It can take a lot of energy. It can take a lot out of you. Hey, good morning, Jorgen. How are you, my friend? So Jorgen is over on mikecameron.ca/live. So it's up, Ann. It's up. I know it is. Yeah, so again, make sure you take care of yourself, that you've got a program in place to make sure that you are getting that physical and emotional sustenance that you need to be able to support them. And sometimes that means you need to set boundaries. And that's okay. I think a lot of times people struggle with putting up boundaries. My friend Alan had a great conversation, and if I can find it, I'll drop a link in the comments later. He had a great conversation with his wife of now 10 years, who had said to him when they got together that we're moving forward. We're not moving backwards. Now, Alan had some addictions issues, but she created a very solid boundary with respect to that. And it was kind of that tough love piece. But in order to support, sometimes you do have to have those boundaries. Everybody's got their own journey. And Everybody gets to make choices. Granted, the choices are harder with mental illness, but it's okay to set boundaries. It is absolutely okay. Neil says, I found that by simply sharing my story, it allows others to feel safe, not judged, and they open up. Yeah, it's that leading by example. It's modeling the way. That is huge. And how did that feel for you, Neil, when you share your story, when you know that your story helps somebody else? I imagine the feeling has to be phenomenal. You know, I know you and I talked yesterday via Messenger, and we shared our CBC articles back and forth. And Neil, feel free to drop a link to your article if you want to share your story here. That would be much appreciated. You know what? I should have you on the show if you're interested in coming on. We'll do a tag team conversation someday. I would like that for sure. But yeah, just again, sharing your struggles. You don't need to make shit up, but being open with where you struggle it will really help your loved one see that they're not alone. And that's the other big thing, is demonstrate that they're not alone. You know, this is where the support groups are fantastic, because it does open people's eyes to, like, holy shit, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was just a loser because I couldn't keep my shit together. No, that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. There are hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that struggle. You know, I say this often. We all struggle. We don't have to compare struggles. But the beautiful thing is we don't have to fucking struggle alone. We're in this together. We don't have to do it alone. And I think that's a big component of supporting a loved one too. It's just letting them know they're not alone. And that can be hard, because sometimes the pushback you get is, nobody gets me. Nobody understands me. Nobody gets this. I'm unique. I'm alone. And the reality is they're not. So find like stories. Again, there's support groups for just about every ailment on the planet. So find those groups, connect them. Anne says, there are times when I used to walk up to a friend and just give them a hug, no words, just a small hug. Not allowed to do that anymore, but it used to work. Now I tend to go up and just stand next to the person, no words, just be there. Yeah, one of the things I talk about often is adding that one word that can change everything. When we're talking about, how you doing? Adding that word, really. How you doing? Really. And then waiting and pausing and sitting with that stillness. Again, opening the door, creating that space. I really like that opening the door analogy, and I'm going to use that. Anyways, my friend, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, I'm going to put together some resources on how to support, because it is a question I get asked an awful lot, and I will drop it up on the website. Nick, how are you? Really? Nick, how are you? Really? Nick works with me every Tuesday night. We talk about this a lot. Really we do. Aaron's dropped a link on my personal Facebook page. That's the problem. I'm broadcasting all over the place. So for those of you that are watching on LinkedIn or on my professional page, Aaron just dropped a link. Aaron, maybe you could drop that on the Mike Cameron Facebook page too, or I will if you don't get to it. But yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. Like I said, I'll do my best in the next couple of days here to coordinate a bunch of resources, and I'll get them up on my website. So if you go to mikecameron.ca, register for that. It's free. Join the community over there. I would love to have you. There's Aaron. He's on the site. I know you are now because your comments are popping up. Thank you. Anyways, my friend, as always, continue to make beautiful shit happen and have yourself a fantastic